Well, let's settle now for the news review. We'll be joined shortly by Professor Ransford, who will be sharing his thoughts on a number of matters. But right before we hear from him, let's check out what the papers have. Quite a number of them I have with me this morning. We'll start as usual with the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says, to sack Milo or not? But is this even in question after the decision that has been taken? Stakeholders divided over Black Stars. And just to give you snippets of what the paper says, stakeholders in Ghana football are sharply divided over how to salvage the Black Stars following their abysmal performance at AFCON 2021 in Cameroon, which saw the team crash out at the first hurdle. Now, while some insist on a radical approach, the outright dismissal of the head coach, Milovan Rajevac, and the dissolution of the national team, others are calling for cool heads, sober reflection, and a measured approach to the way forward. Last Friday, an emergency meeting was held at the Jubilee House between the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Mustafa Yusuf, and the leadership of the FA and the Black Stars technical team, during which the minister expressed the nation's disappointment at the team's showing. Of course, that directive was also given to the FA, that is the FA president, Kurt Okraku, and his colleagues at the FA, that Ghanaians had lost confidence in the technical team's ability to lead the team to success, and consequently directed the FA to relieve Coach Rajevac of his post and also reconstitute the Black Stars. But what do you think? What do you think? The views are mixed. They are myriad. And it's not just you, if you thought so. There is Kurt Okraku on one end. Some have said that, look, we're heading for that encounter with the Nigerians when it comes to the FIFA World Cup. We sack our coach now. How do we prepare? Interim measures and all of that. There are the likes of Mr. Joe Agri, a former sports editor, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, who feels Rajevac should go, and Mohammed Ahmed, famously known as Polo. All of them have shared their thoughts. Well, only God knows how this is going to work out. Who's going to be the replacement, the stand-in manager or gaffer, and how will the fortunes of the Black Stars be affected, for the positive or for the negative? We'll find out. Let's check out some more stories. And New Year School opens today. That story on page 16. Let me bring you just a teaser. And it says the annual New Year School and Conference opens at the Great Hall and the City Conference Center at the University of Ghana, Legon, today. Organized by the School of Continuing and Distance Education of the College of Education of the University, this year's School and Conference, the 73rd edition, is on the theme COVID-19 and Socioeconomic Dynamics in Ghana. We'll be telling you a bit more about that in the course of the show. But in case you haven't heard, 2022 Basic School Academic Year trimester system stays. Yeah, for here, they say the trimester system is going to stay. That is on page 44 of the paper. But let me just ask you, those of you watching us, some have said, oh, that shows that our education ministry, the Ghana Education Service, they listen. And some, on the other end, have said, oh, this simply means they are confused. They don't even know what's up. They don't know what's going on. And so they keep vacillating, pendulating. My director likes that word. And shifting from here to there. But had the proper deliberations, consultations been done, would we have ended up here? And should a stopgap measure now become a full-term, measure? Because we know why the semester system was brought in. It was to address specific challenges on the back of, free SHS at one point, and then on the back of COVID-19. So why do we continue with that, expecting kindergarten children to be in class for so long and for 6 months at a go? Well, you can check out details of that on page 44 of the paper. And then Vice President attends UN Security Council meeting. You know, we are a non-permanent member and we are part of the Security Council. But speaking of Burkina Faso, it's not just the football where they beat Gabon to the joy of some Ghanaians, I don't feel. I mean, our team it is what it is. The fact that the Gabonese are out doesn't make our situation any better. But Burkina Faso military camps hit by heavy gunfire, and sustained gunfire rang out from several military camps in Burkina Faso on Sunday as mutinying soldiers demanded more government support for their fight against Islamist militants and the resignation of the army and intelligence chiefs. So there's a whole lot more that you can check out from the Daily Graphic newspaper. The middle spread, death is certain, tax not so certain. And we pictured there former President John Dramani Mahama. On the back page, Kotoko, Pip, Mediama. And that is how it panned out. The Daily Graphic says Mediana, but Mediama it is. And Asante Kotoko still on top with 30 points after having played 13 games. When you look at the league log, many teams with 14, all the way to the 7th placed Karela, all of them having played 14, but still not catching up with Krobia Asante Kotoko. Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Pictured here, we have, well, you know him, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Minister for Education. And it says, introduction of pre-tertiary semester system. Government makes U-turn as Education Ministry reinstates trimester calendar. I was talking to you about that a short while ago. More condolences pour in for victims of Apiate explosion. That story on page 16. So, on page 17, I should say. And words of sympathy continue to pour in for victims and affected families of last Thursday's explosion at Apiate near Bogoso in the Huni Valley municipality of the Western region. In separate statements and messages issued over the weekend, some institutions wished the injured speedy recovery and conveyed their condolences to the bereaved families. The sympathizers included the Center for Environmental Impact Analysis, the Migrant Labor General Workers Union International, United States Embassy, and the Ghana Chamber of Mines. All of them commiserating with all of us as we actually commemorate that very sad event. I saw a similar post from La Liga Santander, believe it or not, and I'm just trying to retrieve the shot I took of that because La Liga was also commiserating with us, and it was interesting because they even added some chi in there. Amazing stuff. The CRI applauds Minister for efforts to transform education system, and the Minerals Commission shuts down Maxim Company. That's on page 7, and 5.1 million euro tissue paper company set to begin operations on Friday. There's this thorny issue, though. Should Mr. Speaker take part in debates before the House? It's a piece by Kosi Edem, and there's also a piece on page 9. Why go to church regularly? When was the last time, if you're Christian, that you made it to church? Interesting pieces, opinions that you can check out there. But when we talk football, late goal ditches Hearts, and there's also Princesses win away in Uganda. They did us proud, beating the Young Crested Cranes of Uganda by 2-1. That's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let's do the Daily Guide now. And we have, don't turn Parliament into boxing arena. That's according to Freddie Blay himself, someone who has been in Parliament before. And our parliamentarians, they have basically turned this into a, I don't know whether it's Muhammad Ali or Richard Comey or Isaac Dogbe or whatever, but we're hoping that as they go back on the 25th, they are indeed not going to turn it into a boxing arena. But that's Freddie Blay sharing his thoughts there. Maxim suspended, Mines Inspector sacked. Story on page 7. Some have called this a knee-jerk reaction. Some have said the minister himself, not the interior minister, but the lands minister himself should be bearing some of the blame. Why do they think that? They feel he is directly in charge and should have taken care of some of these matters to forestall the disaster we saw. Apiata explosion, driver saved school kids, victims speak. And some of you have been inquiring, you've been asking about whether the driver made it, whether the policeman who was escorting the vehicle, so to speak, made it, whether the rider of the motorbike made it. The point is, all of them did make it. The driver of the vehicle, the truck, the police officer, and the motor rider. They all made it. And again, ACP Kwesi Fori has been reinforcing the fact that the police officer, together with the driver, were telling people to move away because they knew that there was going to be an explosion. But here's something interesting for all of us. Between when the car turned over and burst into flames and everything, and the first explosion, it was between 15 to 20 minutes. Enough time for most people to have moved away. But around that time, there were still people, even when they were being cautioned to step aside, move away, who were now approaching the vehicle. And it turns out that of the 14 who have now passed, it was 13. As of yesterday, we had, unfortunately, another death. The 14 who have passed, these people were a large number. So, well, but the point remains, how do we move on from here? The entire Apiate, community, practically leveled to the ground. Of course, we had Mr. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia actually on Friday go there. He made a donation, mattresses, other things that they would need, and a 200,000 Ghana cedi presentation. You know, some of the males are being housed in a different hotel, females as well. So we'll see how that pans out. NATMO, though, has been a bit slow. As of Friday, there were still dynamics that had not been, even the sharing of items. Yesterday, Seji, the director, was actually on the probe with MFA Apau. For me, I'm still not convinced that everything we can do is still being done, but let's hope for the best. 66 million Ghana cedi full trial of ex-SNIT boss, others begin. And of course, there's a story about Bawumia attending that UN Security Council meeting. But let's check out some, what do you call them, conspiracy theories, or I don't know what you would call them, but the UK warns of plot to install Russia ally in Ukraine. Of course, pictured in the paper, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister. He's pretty renowned when it comes to negotiating some of these matters. The UK is accusing President Putin of plotting to install a pro-Moscow figure to lead Ukraine's government. If you followed in recent times how Ukraine has been giving a pushback, and the United States and some of its allies, the UK and others, talking about the fact that the Kremlin is slowly encroaching on Ukraine and trying to take it over. If you remember the incidents in Crimea, you would know that this has happened before and it could happen again. So these overtures by Russia, are they just nothing to write home about, nothing to speak about, basically to bother about? Is the US making a mountain out of a molehill, or is there real serious trouble brewing? The Ukrainians, they're not sitting down and they don't want to take this for a joke. On the international front, the New Zealand PM, remember her? She counsels wedding amid COVID spike. Not in Ghana. I'm sorry, I'm not poking fun at us, but you know what we have done, even in the midst of COVID. So, not surprising, yeah? Heavy gunfire at military bases in Burkina Faso. And then there is NSS. I'm interested in this one. NSS to become employment agency. And the focus of the National Service Scheme is set to become an employment agency that will create job opportunities for the youth in the country. The executive director of the scheme, Mr. Osei Sibentri, has said. He said the current management of the scheme are rolling out more innovative programs to ensure that more service personnel will be in gainful and viable employment after their service. I look forward to that one, because when you look at the number of people who go through the National Service Scheme and come out and then go and sit at home, makes no, as a country, after all these decades of the National Service Scheme. Otumfuo becomes second Asantehene to wear the Batakari Kessier, and Two-Face Idibia smiles to Davido and Wizkid's reconciliation. That's on the entertainment page in the Daily Guide newspaper. Of course, Tubaba has been responding, and he is actually happy that the two bigwigs of Nigerian music, Davido, and I should say African music, they are part of the wave. They have actually patched up their relationship. Let's take a look at the final newspaper now. 9 children searching for their parents after Apiate explosion. That's on page 13. Sad development. It's like a war-torn area. The area torn to shreds, and some people are, children still looking for their parents and all of that. I heard, as Maxwell Agbagba reported, from there, how a child saw, I think, the mother, right before the explosion and being torn to shreds, and so many things. Gory scenes. These are things that will traumatize some of these people, even children, for a long time to come. And that's why today we'll be speaking to the Psychiatry Association to find out, what the plans are for these people. Child rights applauds Dr. Educhum's education reforms. Everyone is happy. Trimester system back. And Kodia promises more jobs at commissioning of YEA Western North office. Now, government miners to rebuild Apiate and absorb medical bills of victims. That's according to Dr. Baumia. The mining community has also reached out, I think Goldfields as well, and Ashanti Goldfields, or Anglo Gold Ashanti, among others, reaching out to help mitigate the sort of impact it has had. Anyone found culpable in Apiate explosion will not be spared. That's according to Lands Minister Abu Jinapo. But, you know, we are very reactionary and not proactive as a country. So if you found out, yeah, but what could we have done to forestall that? It reminds me of Jeffrey Archer's book from way back. Was it Jeffrey Archer? I think it was. The 11th commandment, don't get caught. So in this country, you can do the wrong thing. Once you don't get caught, it's okay. You get away with it. And that's how bad it is over here. So now this has happened, and now we're looking for heads to roll. But could we have forestalled it? Maxim, they've had their own issues. Could we have prevented this happening? Service is missing in the country. That's according to the Ochehene. And man defiles and impregnates a stepdaughter. This is actually a story we've been bringing to you. In other stories, so let's take a look at this one. Ghana now owns a Mary plant. That's according to Deputy Minister. It's a story that has been feeding in from last week. Let's do the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper now. Indecisive Kojo Bonsu warns NDC. Mahama can't win 2024 polls. Let me bring you part of why he says that. So, former Chief Executive Officer of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Mr. Kojo Bonsu, says he wants to become the presidential candidate of the opposition National Democratic Congress because of the MPP's opinion about John Mahama, claiming he is incompetent and corrupt. They have mudslinging him, or they are mudslinging him with other falsehoods, which the NDC has not been able to clean or tell the people that it is not true, he added. We, that is the NDC, have allowed the falsehood against Mr. Mahama to stick in 2016, and we have allowed it again in 2020. So we need to bring a new face to go and tackle it for the swing voters who made up their minds on Mr. John Mahama. So for him, it's not that the incompetence and corruption are factual or true, but his point is the NDC has not been able to take it away from their candidate, to not make it stick. They've allowed it to stick in 2016 and in 2020, and so they have no hope in 2024. And he is the best option for them. What do you think? Well, that story is on page 3 of the paper. And there's Netflix. A lot of you watch it. Netflix faces rocky road after pandemic wins. And the number of Netflix subscribers grew to 222 million last year, but the streaming firm is facing a rocky road ahead as the surge of interest it saw during the pandemic fades. Overall, Netflix added 18.2 million members last year, but it looks like this year things aren't looking too good. This story was a very worrying one that I took a look at. It says, coach 26 in police custody for sodomizing teen players. We give players to you, coach them, it ends up in sodomy. This coach probably doesn't know about the law on sodomy in Ghana. We've had instances. Well, the Central East Regional Police Command is carrying out investigations to ascertain the actual number of children alleged to have been sodomized by a football coach. The 26-year-old coach, Benjamin Kojo Bano, unfortunately he bears my name, is currently in police custody after being nabbed for allegedly defiling the teen players at Zion, a suburb of Kaswa in the Awutu Senya East municipality. He was said to have promised them successful football careers. And there's also give us time to pay 1% levy, tourism chamber to government. All of those stories in the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. But let me wrap with this one. And we've been hearing from the Justice for Ghana group. When you think of them, you think Bernard Mona. They are beginning a 3-day picketing at Parliament tomorrow. Now, a civil society group, Justice for Ghana, has announced that they will embark on a 3-day picketing at the premises of Parliament from January the 25th. In a statement circulated on social media, the group indicated that the objective of the planned picketing is to register their dissatisfaction, their displeasure with the controversial e-levy bill. And I'm quoting, "The leadership of the above group wishes to notify you about a planned picketing at the Parliament House of Ghana from the 25th to the 27th of January 2022, dubbed Occupy Parliament House." And so those are their reasons, and they say they are going to be there. You remember sometime last year, they attempted saying they went to a certain extent, but they were not allowed to proceed as they had wanted to in Parliament. We'll see how this one pans out, especially as they were refused the first time. Let's do Republic Press now. Support promotion of Ghanaian culture, government told. And then Volta region, man 65 arrested for possessing firearm. Let's take a look at that story on page 8. So let me just get the details of that. So it says here, Ho 363 police recruits sworn in. That's obviously not the story. So the story is actually on page 7. This thing the papers do, eh? Anyway, so 65-year-old Wisdom Badasu is assisting the Ho District Police investigation into offences of possession of firearms without lawful authority, cruelty to animals, and causing harm. Police say on Wednesday, January 19, 2022, some Fulani herdsmen went grazing with their cattle at Agbakope near Ho. While grazing, they heard a gunshot and later detected that one of their cattle had been shot dead. Reports indicated that a search for the assailant by the herdsmen in the bushes proved futile. Now, the herdsmen decided to look for the attacker, and after some time, the suspect emerged with a locally manufactured gun. The herdsmen confronted the suspect over the killing of the bulls. The suspect took offense and in the process bit the thumb of one of the herdsmen. The herdsmen managed and arrested the suspect, who was immediately handed over to the police. So we often demonize. There's that stereotype that it's always the herdsmen, the herdsmen, the herdsmen. You see that sometimes it is not they who are on the wrong end of activities or the law. So at least in this instance, this man has been apprehended, and that is a step in the right direction. SIM registration, NIA, NCA driven mainly by commercial interest. That's according to Imani Africa's Bright Simmons, sharing his thoughts there. And then this one from Bulldog. Stop the foolish investment in football now and invest in music. Bulldog is saying, you've invested in football. I mean, the last AFCON, we were spending, upwards of 6 million, not the 25 million that was touted, because that's an entire package, even for the under-17s and all of that, and the female teams. But upwards of 6 million. The prize money for AFCON 2021 is 5 million. We're going to pump all that money in there. And we've seen, like Kaby Lane will say, these are the results. Bulldog is saying, pump some of that into music. Yeah, build our music industry and don't pump all of it into football. What do you think? You can share with us with the hashtag AMShow. There's also AFCON 2021. Moses Simon says, Nigeria not getting carried away. They lock horns with Tunisia, and we wish them the very best. I mean, they've been trolling us on social media, but it's nothing we wouldn't have done if they had exited, so we can forgive them. The Custodian newspaper, our forefathers built Ashanti NPP together. Chairman Odeneho says that government cracks the whip over Apiate tragedy. Are they really cracking the whip? Are they really cracking the whip? And there are other stories in there as well. But we've been joined by Professor Ransford Jampo. And let me quickly get to him as I run by him some interesting bits that we have for this morning. I think I'll skip the papers and go straight to that. Prof, me watching you.
Yeah.
Now, no pay. Yeah, what to say?
Well, by the grace of God, all is well.
Right. I'm sure for those of you thinking,
you guys are trying to make us part of your working team.
You are part. You are part already. You are part already.
You're making us wake up at times that you should be sleeping and resting.
Prof, for God and country. For God and country.
to be to be enjoying our strike.
For God and country. But speaking of the strike, let me start from there. So, as university teachers, you have this directive. After 21 days of being on strike, schools shut down, schools close. Is that going to happen? Because we are there. Is that the next step? Are students in the institutions going to go home? And is Utah going to sit down and allow that to happen?
So unfortunately, in our various rules and statutes, these have been written and documented that if you don't attend lectures or lectures are not held for 21 days, then the universities may have to be forced to shut down. We do not want to see our universities close down. We are not happy to be also on strike, but it appears that as things are going, we are heading towards that unfortunate situation. And I want to hope and believe that the government may be concerned by the plight of the students. The government may also want to listen to the demands and cry of
Are you suggesting, Prof, that government isn't concerned with the plight of the students? Because you're saying you're hoping they will be concerned and take action. Are you suggesting they are not concerned?
Well, I mean, we've made demands. We've been talking about better conditions of service for a long time. Certain specific demands have been made. There's been no offers yet from the government. And they are aware that we have students. And what even saddens my heart is that, well, they are all around, students are around going up and down and not benefiting from lectures. And we also have foreign students amongst us who have also joined from various parts of the world.
Right.
And we are not happy about the impression that they may even carry out there. Once upon a time, they used to say that in some other universities, if you go, you are not certain to complete within the scheduled academic calendar.
Right.
But if you come to Ghana, you'll be able to complete. And we don't want to be part of those universities that do not have certainty of completing academic calendar, for students and for foreign students. And so I will use this opportunity to appeal to the government that we've been at this, we are in the third week, and if this week closes, then the universities may have to shut down. We don't want the universities to shut down. And so I appeal that government should also make its offers to UTAG and let these offers be considered by its members. And if the offers are good, I'm sure that members will be happy.
Do you think if government makes an offer, you can quickly reach your membership across the 15 institutions and come to some conclusion before deadline day? Do you think that is possible? If government, how soon do you think government must make the offer so that you can react before shutdown day?
Well, government must make the offer this week, before the close of this week. And I'm sure if government heeds to this call, we would be able to quickly speak to members and then see, but take note that the fact that we are saying, I'm asking the government must make an offer does not mean members will just accept anything because they are so concerned that the universities will be closed down. I keep saying, last week I said it, the university teacher is a very thinking person, a very discerning person, a very sophisticated person. And so you don't just treat him like rats. You can do that and go scot-free. And so I will plead and I'll appeal that government should quickly find something, find good offers and make to UTAG. And I'm sure that once these things are done, we'll be able to bring some finality to the situation, because we are not happy being on strike.
Okay. Prof, the Apiata disaster has left a very sour taste a very bitter taste, I should say, in all our mouths. But we're told that the Maxim company has been shut down, the company conveying the explosives, the chief inspector of mines has been interdicted, among others. But some say this is just an attempt to make it appear we are doing something, another knee-jerk reaction. And some have even said that the lands minister himself, Abu Jinapo, should bear part of the blame. How do you feel we got here? And what is your general take on how we should approach this disaster moving forward? Are we doing the right things?
Well, I think that first of all, our condolence to those who have lost members of their family. And we pray that the good Lord keep them, the departed, in his bosom.
Right.
And also those who have, so those who are now living and they have experienced or suffered this loss, we console them. But I think that generally the problem has to do with our inability to enforce strict safety protocols and precautionary measures against some of these dangers and some of these unfortunate situations. We tend to be reactionary when some of these things occur, just to pacify public outcry and public opinion. But the point is that as a developing country, we have the penchant to allow dangers to escalate. We have a penchant to allow some of these unfortunate situations and circumstances to degenerate into some of these disasters before we react, and it is not the best. And so, some measures have been taken. I consider them as reactionary, but I want to believe that, you see, and it's typical of us. We'll talk about this in the next 2 more days, not even 3 days. The next 2 more days, and then it will be the end of the situation. And that is who we are as a people. And these things have been prevalent among us, and this practice has been part and parcel of us, for a long time. Incidents like this occur, we lament, we resort to knee-jerk reactionary measures. Then in 2 days, we talk about it, and then there is a finality to it. People are left to be on their own. I believe that it's about time we took effective measures to ensure the proper implementation of all safety protocols to guide some of these practices so that we don't get here. I want to commend those who have visited the site and the family to commiserate and to console them. I'm told that people have also gone there to donate some relief items. I believe it's in the right direction, and I want to also hope and believe that the National Disaster Management organization has also been there to bring some comfort to those who are suffering now.
Prof, I want your quick thoughts on this. I don't know whether my producer will give me enough time. I don't know whether we can do it, but just some 2 quick points I'd like to run by you. The first one has to do with the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. Recently, they put out a report indicting the management of the GNPC over an acquisition of a residential property at Chapel Hill, a suburb of Takoradi in the Western Region, for $7.5 million US. The structure is basically falling apart. And PIAC in this report particularly faulted the GNPC chief executive, Kofi Kodua-Sapong, saying he acted, quote, in breach of the laws governing conflict of interest. I only bring this up because financially, we know where we are as a country, $7.5 million. We are trying to plug the holes when it comes to taxation. We are introducing levies here, taxes there, and all of that. Yet we seem to be bleeding a lot of money when it comes to state resources. Your quick reaction to this bit?
Well, we are always in a hurry to set up institutions just to be able to run them down and to make sure that they become toothless. Public Interest and Accountability Commission is one key institution that is supposed to bring some accountability in the management of petroleum revenues and resources. But over the years, I know that they've made serious findings and they've made recommendations that have been snubbed. These recommendations have not been heeded too. And so that is typical of us. We set up these institutions, and once they begin to operate, some way, somehow, the overbearing posture of the executive arm of government dwarfs them. And so you can make your recommendations, but we've heard it, but you may not be able to work with it. And that has been one of their challenges. It's an important institution aimed at bringing about some accountability in our systems and the way our petroleum revenues are managed. So if they are saying these things and these things would not be taken seriously, then it's up to us as a developing country. But we have to rethink some of these practices that tend to dissipate or waste resources of the nation. I think generally it appears that we have a penchant for fetching water with baskets. If you look at the way a manner wastages are encouraged and wastages and slippages, in the system, the way a manner they occur without much preventive or much measures aimed at preventing them. It leaves one to continue to wonder whether we are really a serious nation in our effort to develop, because you cannot develop by looking for money and allowing the money to go down the drain. The little resources that we have, we tend to easily waste them, and this has been our challenge. So wastages and slippages in the system have been our major challenge. We've always resorted to measures aimed at raising income. Now the government is talking about e-levy and other domestic means of raising resources. And I keep asking, the last time I asked, they are raising the resources to do what? You are raising the resources only to waste them. If government would at the same time look at ways and means and measures implemented aimed at checking the wastages in the system, then I'm sure that we would see that we have a lot of money, but we raise and then we allow them to go down the drain.
We raise and we allow them to go down the drain.
Yes, wastages and leakages and slippages are our key challenge as a nation in our effort to raise resources for development.
Prof, we are grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us, albeit a little tardy, but we are very grateful that you joined us this morning. And I wish you the best of the day, Prof.
Sure.
All right, Professor Ransford Jampo joined us for this morning, albeit much later for the news review. Up next, Nabila will be joining us. Nabila Abdullahi Muftahal will be joining us with sports. Of course, you can expect more talk on AFCON 2021. That's up next. Stay.